Good morning, everyone, to the Best Practice Industry Awards webinar. I would like to introduce our panelists this morning. It will be our President, Enos Ngachane, our Vice President, Anthony Williams, and our Best Practices Coordinator, Stephanie Griffiths. Over to Enos.
Thank you, Wayne. I'd like to welcome our listeners to the Best Practice Industry Awards. It is your world-class awards program, your world-class process, and a world-class entrance. In today's agenda, we will be introducing you to the value of entering the awards program to fund performance. Our program champion is Anthony Williams, who is the CEO of the SABC Pension Fund and the multi-award winner. On how to enter and what the judges will be looking for, our program moderator is Stephanie Griffiths, Cohesion Communication Research and Development. Good morning once more. My name is Enos Ngachane. I have the privilege to serve as the president of the Institute of Retirement Funds Africa. Welcome to our first Best Practice Industry Awards webinar. The aim of the webinar is to facilitate your entry process into the awards. The webinar is fully interactive, and after the presentation, you will be able to ask questions and be provided with the feedback. Joining me today are Anthony Williams, the IRFA Vice President, International Award winner, and the Best Practice Industry Award champion, Stephanie Griffiths, who serves as our external program moderator. As the IRFA, we pledge our full support in giving the program the recognition it deserves, to showcase the excellence of the entries and the entrance in a prominent forum, to capitalize on the program's benefit for entrants and non-entrants alike. Support our winners with far-reaching communication and publicity. Before we proceed, let us just reflect a little bit. Our Best Practice Industry Awards program started 32 years ago as the IRF Communication Challenge, recognizing the communication and stakeholder engagement. Of course, we continued and made several changes in 2014, following a benchmarking research of associated local and international awards programs. Additional to the categories, we added over a 2-year period, extra categories, 7 in total. A rigorous and quantifiable assessment process was developed. A new judging process was added to ensure impartiality and consensus between subject matter experts. That is why we have 2 judges per entry. In 2016, we added the best practice judging checklist, which is based on the IRFA's best practice study as a judge's aid to ensure objectivity. In 2018, we added our gold standard award to the existing subcategories for entrants who meet the rest of the criteria. Rest assured of an expert assessment. Our panel of judges consists and will feature for the second time international judges. We feature subject matter specialists. We also feature judges from allied associations. You must not be left out. Be part of the bars. Enter your world-class programs and strategies. Be recognized for excellence. Receive expert commentary from your peers. As the Institute of Retirement Funds Africa, we look forward to receiving your entries. You must always aim for the stars. You must aim for that gold standard award. An overarching category for entrants who meet this best practice criteria in these following subcategories: governance, transformation, stakeholder engagement, investment practices, trustee development, financial management, and reporting. We therefore welcome your entries and wish you all the best in this important process. I now introduce Anthony, who is going to take you forward and explain the process. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, I think to reiterate what the President has just told us, the core aims of the awards program has always been to recognize the professionalism and the excellence of the players in our industry, because we have good players. You guys are the cream of the crop. To encourage a culture of excellence, to motivate the industry to evaluate, review, and upgrade their fund processes. And finally, the creation of a greater understanding and awareness of the value of retirement funds, not only in South Africa, but beyond our borders. We are, after all, the Institute of Retirement Funds Africa. Just to chat a bit about governance and obviously the gold standard award that Enos has already mentioned. Best practices start and end with effective governance. And as you are aware, I'm sure, the definition of governance moves quite far beyond the accepted definition of the word. Governance includes specific outputs, and these encompass financial management and reporting, the development of your trustees, as well as the investment practices that you are adhering to. All this is facilitated and bound by the catalyst of stakeholder communication. It's no good doing all these things and you're not telling your stakeholders. It's also about reaching out and getting to grips with the stakeholder concept in terms of the best practice definition. Now, who is your stakeholder? Any person, any group or organization that has an interest or a concern in your organization, be it members, be it pensioners, be it your service providers, etc. This widens the playing fields considerably and involves active engagement and often collaboration. Finally, this requires consistent and rigorous assessment and measurement of perceptions, attitudes, behavior, but most importantly, the needs of your fund. The SABC Pension Fund has been fortunate to win a few awards over the years, but and I do get asked what has been the benefit. I think there's a twofold thing we need to mention here. The first is the membership of the IRFA, as well as the winning of an award. if you compare the membership of the IRFA to being a runner, you're a runner with your fund. You're an athlete. You want to run the Comrades Marathon. You can either do this on your own, or you can do it as part of a team. Now, generally, you would belong to a running club, an athletics club. And the advantages of belonging to that club, in this case, the IRFA, are that you're not running alone. So you're getting tips on your diet. You're getting help with running your qualifying races. You're getting help with your training. You're getting information and magazines, and you're being exposed to the industry of running at large. Now, it's the same with the IRFA. If you belong to the IRFA, you are no longer running your pension fund as a silo. You are no longer just seeing other trustees and principal officers at international conferences. You are getting into a club where you are sharing what you're doing. Now, that's exactly the same as entering an award, because how do you know if what you're doing is good? How do you know if you need to improve on it? The only way is to show everybody else what you're doing, and for them to show you what they're doing. And by comparing ourselves, we can know if there are things we can do better. If there's a cherry on the top, we can all run that race. We can all come in at the 5 minutes just before the end and be quite spectacular, but we can also run that race and run it much better. And the people who win the awards are the ones who put in that little bit of an extra effort, a little bit of trying. They doing the diet correctly. They have a little bit of a special quality, and that quality is gained only by comparing yourself and being able to see what the rest of the industry is doing. And that is the advantage of entering these awards. You become part of the club, you become part of the sharing, and believe me, you will have something to share. You will have something that nobody else has thought of. You will be doing something that's unique, that you've been doing for years and nobody else has thought about. And don't be selfish. Share that with us. Share that with the judges. We are looking for innovation. The very first award the SABC Pension Fund entered, we came nowhere in the category we entered. We got an outlying award for something obscure that the judges picked up in our awards, in our award entry. It was nothing related to the entry to the category we actually entered in. And that is what you need to do. There is something special. Thank you. Over to Steph. Steph is the program engineer, the mechanic, the lady that's got the bonnet open and that makes sure your entries come in. I can tell you that in the past, when we first entered these awards 10 years ago, you needed a bucket full of files and papers, and you had to ring punch these things and make them all look pretty, and then you ran up to the IRFA offices on the Friday that they closed and you handed them in. Today it's a much more streamlined process. You sit at your PC, much as where you're sitting right now. You prepare everything online and you hit a button and it's entered. It really is just that simple. I mean, even I can do it, and I have before. So Steph, over to you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Good morning, everybody. My name is Stephanie Griffiths, and I have been privileged to be a judge, moderator, and the program mechanic for a good number of years. And over those years, have seen some inspiring entries from this industry, which makes such a difference in the socio-economic profile of our country. All right, I'm going to take you through what we need from you, should you wish to enter the program. Before I do that, though, I would like to thank all our judges for the time and the effort which they put in voluntarily. My fellow judges really do put their heart and soul into judging your entries and to giving you the kind of feedback that you deserve. Right, so what do we need from you? This year, entry will again be online and using an internationally recognized online awards program. This is the Awards Force program, and it really is something quite special. The link is as follows, and we will show you this again at the end of the presentation. You will be able to upload Word documents, PDFs, videos, and hyperlinks, making your entry process easy, user-friendly, and completely paperless. You will have to complete an entry form, submit a work plan, and a work sample. Please remember on your entry form to note which category you are entering, and note that payment will be on receipt of an invoice from the IRFA officers. On the subject of confidential information, one of the primary objectives of this program for IRFA is to enter information and education in the public domain so that other funds and service providers can learn from your endeavor. However, should you wish any of the information or material which you are submitting to remain confidential, please indicate this clearly by marking this on the material. And also, for your peace of mind, our judges do sign a non-disclosure document. Right, let's have a look at the work plan and the work sample. Your work plan counts 50% of your score, and your work sample counts 50% of the score. Without submitting both, your entry will be disqualified. And why do we need both? Well, quite simply, your work plan builds the case and informs the judges of your reasoning, and your work sample provides that evidence of what has been done. Our judges use a best practices checklist in judging the entries appropriate to each category. Right, let's have a look at that work plan in more detail. The headings are on the online platform, and I'm just going to take you through one or two points with regard to them. You will start your work plan off with your business need or the opportunity. Why did you do what you did? How did it affect the organization? Please give us a clear description of any issues you're facing and the potential impact these issues may have had on performance, reputation, image, or participation. If you have any formal or informal assessment or research findings that support your analysis of the need or opportunity, please include these as well. Anthony has spoken about stakeholders and the need to think very broadly in terms of your stakeholder base. So please define everybody who would be impacted by your program, your strategy, or your governance process. Describe your stakeholders, and if you have any demographics, psychographics, or sociographics, please let us know what these are. Right, let's have a look at goals and objectives. There's a great debate about what is a goal and what is an objective. Goals describe what you were designed to accomplish. It's broad-based. Objectives should be realistic and measurable and should examine the outcomes such as quantity, time, cost, percentages. Distinguish between outcome-based objectives and output-based objectives. And please see that these objectives are measurable and let us know how you measured them. Right, then you need to describe to us your broad solution. Summarize what you did, your outputs, your interventions, and describe the rationale for the chosen approach. Your solution should demonstrate your thought processes, your imagination, and your approach to problem solving. Most importantly, how effective was the strategy, project, or program in meeting those stated objectives? Let's have a look at actual implementation. How was this project or program implemented? Include budget, time, technical equipment, and other resources utilized. Please, at this point, I must emphasize, we don't look at the size of the budget. This is not important in evaluating the excellence of your effort. What we do look at is how well you spent what you had to spend. It doesn't matter if that budget was small. Just show us that you made efficient use of that money. Please include timeframes and describe any limitations or challenges faced. As judges, we're looking for flexibility and a capacity to resolve problems and negotiate solutions. Note any special circumstances and discuss how these were addressed. Measurement, a very important step in the process. How did you measure the effect of your strategy, program, or project against your stated objectives? Please detail the process and include your findings. Remember, it doesn't have to be rocket science. Although we would prefer a full attitudinal behavioral study, if your call center has made calls, if you've had feedback from your stakeholders, include this as part of your measurement process. Quite simply, did it work and how did you check it? Preparing your work sample. Please include examples of policies, programs, initiatives, and measurement. Showcase that initiative, creativity, and compliance. Alert us as judges to those best practices and solutions. You may provide your evidence in PDF, AV video, or hyperlink format. What are we going to be looking for? Well, I'm going to give you some hints and some tips here. Our judging checklists have been drawn up from findings from the extensive IRFA best practices study. This was an extensive literature search and measurement of perceived compliance against defined best practices by South African industry itself. So I'm going to show you these results, which will give you some tips on what it is that we as judges will be looking for and what we have included in our checklists. At this point, I must please emphasize those checklists are not prescriptive. They are used as a judge's aid. Let's have a look at stakeholder engagement. I'm not going to sit and read each and every single one of these. You can read them for yourselves. I'm purely going to highlight some of the main points. Number one, do you ensure that stakeholder communication includes all the right information on operations, administrations, and investments? Do you regularly assess and monitor stakeholder communication needs? Do you ensure that those messages and channels are accessible to all stakeholders? Do you measure the effectiveness of that stakeholder communication on stakeholder understanding, attitudes, and behavior? Let's have a look at your communication practices. Do you develop and run member education programs? Do you regularly communicate? Are those communication channels accessible? Do you regularly assess your member understanding and their needs? What type of information do you provide to those stakeholders? Obviously, changes to fund rules, changes in regulatory requirements, information on risk and individual investment choice. Do you provide information on the financial performance of your fund? Let's move on to the category of financial reporting practices and the concomitant financial management practices. Do you report accountably to all internal and external stakeholders of the fund? Do you use plain English and appropriate language in communicating? Do you provide financial information in a legible and understandable format? What type of information do you provide in your financial reports? Do you have a look at actuarial valuations? Fund governance and who's involved in this? Reports by professional advisors? Stewardship? Security of assets? Do you have a full trustees report? Moving on to the important area of trustee education and development. You'll notice there that South African industry rates this practice up at 59%. Clearly an important area. Do you regularly train your incoming trustees? Do you evaluate, provide regular feedback on trustee performance? Do you assess their developmental needs? And in that assessment, when you develop programs for them, do you develop programs, developmental and educational programs for your board in terms of their fiduciary responsibilities, their duty of care, their duty of loyalty, and their duty of prudence? What is the content, specific content of these programs? Investment principles, asset allocation, most importantly, business conduct and ethics, vendor selection. Moving on to investment practices. Do you invest within statutory and regulatory requirements? Do you review your investment portfolios regularly? Do you ensure that those investment portfolios are appropriate to fund membership? Do they ensure sustainable performance? Most importantly, do they manage and alleviate risk? Show us how, what, and where. What sort of information do you provide to your stakeholders on your investment practices? Do you show them that you have targeted benchmarks? Do they know who the custodians of their investment are? Do they know and understand the acceptable levels of risk? And what is your fund's social investment policy? Final category, governance. All right, governance is the big one. Do you ensure that fund governance complies with the latest legislation? Do you have a code of conduct in place which outlines board members' duties and obligations? Include that in your work sample. Do you ensure that conflict of interest is avoided in board selection? Do you fully declare all costs and fees incurred? Do you ensure annual appraisal of board performance? Do you ensure annual appraisal of your executive officers? And do you ensure that developmental plans are in place based on this board appraisal? Right, thank you very, very much. Over to you for any questions you may have. And please do not forget that entry link. Good luck. My judging panel and I look forward to evaluating and seeing your entries, seeing the best of the best. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm just waiting for Enos. All three of you are there. I have a few questions that I just want to ask, and maybe you can assist with them as we go through it. Stephanie, deadline for submissions for...
The deadline for submissions is April the 30th.
Okay. Then Anthony or Stephanie, invoicing for participants, the participation fee is...
The invoicing will be undertaken by the IRFA officers once the entry has been logged. The categories, it's 1,500 Rand per category and 3,000 Rand for a gold standard entry.
All this information is available on the site, if I understand.
It's all available on the site, and everything is perfectly clear. I would just also, Wayne, like to say, should anybody have any further questions, please feel free to contact me.
Okay. And then Enos, a question here around when a awards celebration or recognition event will be held for the awards program.
Yeah, I've seen that question coming up from a number of participants on our webinar. At the current moment, we've not yet decided on the date or the venue itself where entrants are going to be receiving their awards, but we'll keep them updated as we go.
Thank you, Enos. Anthony?
Yeah, I would just like to add that if somebody doesn't manage to write down the reference, the entry link, if you just simply go onto the IRFA website, you can link onto the awards program. So it's quite easy. You really just have to type in IRFA into your browser, go onto our website, and you'll find the link there as well. So there's no need to get too technical.
Thank you. Yes, just, you know, sometimes we need some comfort in how to do these things.
Right.
One last question each. Maybe we'll start with Stephanie. I mean, one last comment each. We'll start with Stephanie, then Anthony, and then if our president can close off for us.
Well, yes. Over the years, I've been privileged to serve as a judge. I really have seen the best of the best of program strategies and programs submitted by Southern African funds and service providers. Benchmarking these against international programs, I think that we really can lift our heads in terms of the endeavor that the sector is putting in. So please show us and share this with your peers in the industry.
Right, well, I would like to add that if you've never submitted an entry before, make this your year to do that. And make it the year that you change things. We're changing a lot of things this year, the way we're operating with the COVID pandemic. Let's this be the year that you change things and actually enter an awards program and see how it's going to change the world that you're currently in. As officials of pension funds, we don't have jobs. We have a calling, and this is part of your calling, and this will open you up not just to the local industry, not just to Africa, but you will find yourself being tempted to enter the overseas awards as well, and to put your brains against the best of the best. And I promise you, if a little guy like me, or many of the other little guys I've seen, if we can do it, believe me, so can you. It's not hard. It's not hard. The judges are out there to encourage you to look for what you've done that's exceptional. They want you to win an award. I promise you, they want you to win an award. Enter. Tata ma chance. Thank you. And over to Enos then for a final goodbye.
Thank you very much, Anthony. I just want to say to our entrants, this is a very prestigious awards program. You mustn't miss this chance to showcase your strategies, showcase your programs as the fund, and also make sure that you are known out there, not only in South Africa, but internationally as well. So we welcome you, we welcome your entrance. Tata ma chance. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you everyone. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
How long was the recording?